Hi guys, my name is Noni Matikela. Welcome to the Noni M podcast. One of the other interesting facts was to see the state evidence. Okay, let's talk about this one particular situation because it's a lot of them. It's embarrassing, guys. To say the least, it is embarrassing. So, last week, something else was very significant. The evidence of the state turned against the state. The prosecutor's evidence that they brought in court turned against them in that courtroom. True advocate Timnis. So today, let's talk about what happened last week. Ne? What just happened? Not because there was a confession, no, not because there was a confession, not because there was a new witness appeared, not because the defense introduced new evidence. Mm-mm. That's not what happened. But because Advocate Mnisi reached into the state's own evidence bundle and began comparing one state exhibit against another. And a few moments later, the courtroom was confronted with a question that could become one of the most talked about issues in this trial. Can two official pieces of the state evidence both be correct if they appear to tell completely different stories? Let's unpack what happened. Advocate Mnisi first took the court to the commissioned statement of uh, Simpiwe Buthelezi. According to the certification completed by Sergeant Vusumuzi Mokhane, the statement was taken and commissioned on the 16th of June 2020 at exactly 2 o'clock in Pukeng. Everything looked ordinary. Mohane wrote his full names. He identified himself as Sergeant. He recorded his office address as number 3 Troy Street, Pretoria. He signed the certification confirming that the witness understood the statement, had no objections to taking the prescribed oath, and signed it in his presence on paper. Okay? Everything looked perfectly normal until Mnisi opened another exhibit from the state. From the state Gesana, not a defense document, not a private investigation, not an expert report obtained by the accused, the state's own AVL tracking records. The same AVL records the prosecution previously relied upon during its own case. And suddenly, the timeline began raising difficult questions. Mnisi directed the court to exhibit MA to A. He read the entries slowly, one after another. The first critical entry showed the police vehicle traveling at 13:59:50. Just 10 seconds before the statement says it was commissioned. The vehicle was still driving near Old Enford Road, Rustenburg Rural, traveling at 22 kilometers per hour. Then came the next entry, 14:00:45. 45 seconds after the statement was supposedly commissioned, the vehicle was still driving, this time at approximately 98 kilometers per hour. Then another entry, 14:01:10. The vehicle was still moving, still on the road, still traveling. But Mnisi wasn't finished. He took the court through the broader AVL report. According to his reading of the records, the police vehicle had been traveling continuously since approximately 13:07 that afternoon. The report reflected continuous movement. It recorded speed violations, and according to the AVL, that journey only came to an end at approximately 15:08:59 when the ignition was finally switched off. That is where that day's proceedings became especially interesting. For an hour they were traveling because Mnisi's question wasn't simple. Was the vehicle moving? His question was much deeper, guys. How do you reconcile a commissioned witness statement with electronic tracking data that appears to show the commissioner still driving at the same time? Make it make sense. Please, make it make sense. What do you mean? Think about the ordinary process. A witness gives an account, the officer records it, the witness reads it, or it is read back. Corrections are made if necessary. The witness confirms it, the witness signs, the commissioner administers the oath, the commissioner signs. The process normally takes time. So, Mnisi's challenge was straightforward. If the AVL accurately reflects the vehicle movement, could all of those steps realistically have occurred at exactly the recorded time? And here is what made that day's exchange particularly powerful. The defense was not attacking the state with outside evidence. I've been saying this to you. The defense was not attacking the state with outside evidence. They are still on hold of their own evidence. It was using the state's own exhibits, one state document against another state document. That is a very different kind of leading a witness, of course. But what is this going to make during cross-examination? I don't know. I don't know. Even during arguments, they um the state did not think these things will come to light, ne? Ne? Now, before anyone rushes to conclusion, it is important to remember this. That day's proceedings identified an apparent inconsistency. They did not determine what caused it. They may still be explanations. Perhaps the recorded time on the statement was but no. Okay. Perhaps the certification occurred at a different moment. Perhaps there is a context that has not yet emerged. Or perhaps the state will provide an explanation that reconciles the documents. At this stage, though, the court has not made any findings, but what happened that day undoubtedly placed this issue squarely before the judge. For months, this trial has revolved around digital evidence, cell phone records, tower locations, metadata, vehicle tracking, timelines. So, today, the same digital evidence was turned back on the state's own case. Imagine that. Imagine just that, nje. Imagine it. And that is why this moment drew so much attention. Whether it ultimately changes anything will depend on the evidence still to come. But one thing is certain. That day's proceedings reminded everyone in court that sometimes the toughest questions do not come from new evidence. Sometimes they come from comparing the evidence that is already on the record. And when two official records appear to point in different directions, the court must eventually decide which version carries greater weight. This trial of Zenzumewa is far from over, Kesana. The state may yet answer these questions. We don't know. We don't know, ne? The defense will certainly continue pressing them, and we will be here to analyze every development, every contradiction, and every legal argument carefully, fairly, and in detail. So that is what I have today. So those proceedings caught. If those proceedings caught your attention and you like, I had no one to talk to about this. Well, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section when it comes to this. How do you think the court should approach an apparent inconsistency between a commission statement and AVL tracking records? How is Judge Rata supposed to deal with this? If you appreciate any of this courtroom analysis without a noise, subscribe to Noni M Podcast, turn on your notification bell, and join us as we continue following every twist and turn in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. I'll see you on our next video. Bye bye.